Welcome to the Academy. Today we're gonna learn about functions. First we will take a look on the concept of functions and understand why they are super useful and how we can use them. Then we will see some examples and write some functions on our own and see them in action. Let's get right into it. Okay, but how does a function look like? Functions have two main parts, the header and the body. In the header we have the function keyword followed by the name, which is our choice. After the name we have parentheses, which can even be empty, or it can have one or multiple inputs that we call parameters. Multiple parameters have to be separated with commas. We can use parameters to pass data to our function, and we can use them or make decisions based on them. The function body contains all the logic and the instructions of our function. At the end of the execution, we can return data, which is kind of the result of our function. We will see that not every function has a return value. Some functions just execute statements and have some side effects that we need. For example, they just change the value of a variable or write something to the console. There are multiple ways to write a function, but they have the same parts as we already saw. What we looked at first is called a function definition or a function statement. The two other function creation methods are function expressions and arrow functions. Let's take a look at function expressions. When we use a function expression, we create a variable and assign a nameless function to it. With this approach, the variable name will be our function name, so we will use it to call our function. We use functions really often in JavaScript, and that means a lot of function keywords. Programmers are lazy and don't like to repeat themselves and write the same thing over and over again. That's why arrow functions were introduced back in 2015 with ES6. Arrow functions are function expression shorthands with much cleaner syntax. Arrow functions come handy when we use nameless, so-called anonymous functions too. You will see them almost everywhere nowadays. When we use an arrow function, we create a variable, just like with a normal function expression, but the magic happens on the other side of the equal sign. Instead of writing the function keyword, we start with parentheses, optionally with parameters, followed by a greater than sign. After that we have the function body between curly braces. How simple and beautiful, right? This is why we call these arrow functions, because the parameter list and the body is separated with a fat looking arrow. There are some differences between arrow functions and function statements, but when you start to learn JavaScript, these are not important. If you want to know more, I will cover these differences in an in-depth video, so be sure to subscribe. Let's look at two functions that we are going to implement soon. The first one is squareNum. It actually takes a number as a parameter and returns the square of that number. For example, if we pass 3 as a parameter, we get 9 as a result. The second one is sayHello, which actually takes no parameter and writes "Hello my friend" to the console. Now let's jump right into the editor and write these functions. Let's start by implementing our first function, squareNum. We start with our function keyword followed by our name, which is squareNum, and it will take one parameter, one number especially, which we call a for now. The function itself is really simple. It actually returns the a multiplied by itself. Let's test our function with creating a variable and assigning a squareNum function call to it. Let's try it out with, for example, 4. So num's value actually should be 16. Let's test it by writing num to the console. If you can't run your JavaScript files locally, check out my video in the description. So let's rewrite our squareNum function to be a function expression instead of a function definition. First we create a variable and then assign a nameless function to it. The parameter and the return value are actually the same. Let's see if our function expression works correctly. I'll use 5 as a parameter to test our function. It should print out 25 to the console. Okay, now let's rewrite squareNum as an arrow function. Let's test our arrow function with 6. 36 should be printed to the console. Let's comment out the console logs now and write a new function, the sayHello function. It won't have any parameters, it will only write a message to the console. Let's start by implementing it with a function definition. As you can see, sayHello does not contain a return value because we have nothing to return. We just use the side effect of the function that writes a greeting to the console. Let's test our function by calling it. We should see "Hello my friend" appear on the console. Now let's rewrite sayHello as a function expression and an arrow function. As we saw this process before, I just speed up it for you. Remember that the code is available in the description below. Thank you for watching till the end of this video. If you found it useful or learned anything new, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can also drop a like if you wish and leave feedback in the comment section below. I see you folks in the next video.